That's okay. Okay. Thanks. And this distance is fine. We are not too much into the screen. See, already waiting more. This one you have to wait. People don't think I'm waiting. Hello? Hello? Hey, Sonia.
Hi, Miriam.
Hi.
Hi. Good to see you.
How are you?
Did you see
Can you see me well?
I see you perfectly. Tommy was waving behind, but now he's run off to work with the light. John?
Hi, I've just switched home.
Okay. Did you take an Uber?
No, I came with mommy.
I think that's better. For my meeting, they can see me in the dark.
I have very good lighting. What are you using? Or are you sitting opposite the window?
Nothing. My natural light in my house.
It's beautiful.
That's my garden to the right.
Wow. The lighting is excellent.
Thank you. Thank you.
John is here. We are waiting for Godfrey. Let me just find out what's up with him.
Hi, Joanne.
Hi.
How are you?
How
Don't
are you?
worry. We are
okay.
We will meet even after this.
I know.
Okay.
We have a number of people waiting to be admitted already. I hope Godfrey can join us soon.
I hope I'm not looking too casual and too
No, you
young.
look really good, by the way.
Okay. Doctor told me, are you going to talk to parents with that kashat? I said, what's wrong with it? Yeah, I don't look at you. I'm not going to take it seriously. I'm like, Joanne, would you take it
fine.
Mama, thank you, Miriam. I had to be sure. Because the guy was like, you're not going to convince me as a parent. You know anything.
Let me just mute myself and call up Godfrey. He's not answering.
No problem. No problem. Joanita, I want to see you.
I've just gotten home. I'm just getting myself ready.
Hi, he's not picking his phone, but I think it shouldn't stop us from, it shouldn't stop us from planning. John, are you still there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, he'll find us along the way. The important thing is that we've gone through with him what we need him to say.
Yeah.
And that is it, yeah.
You have another debrief with him after that, after the phone call.
Exactly. Although by the time I'm sure we're done with this, everyone will, yeah. But after we met the last time, I had a debrief with him, spoke through the things with him. Great. Asked him what things to focus on, and to make sure there's no controversy. Yeah, exactly. Because what we don't want to do is to make it look like we are putting parents down for what they're doing right now. Yeah. We need to appreciate that they're doing their best with a good intention, and we're just giving them skills to help them even get better.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, that's right. Because people who attend programs like this, you know how they say you're preaching to the choir? It's usually people who want to get better at something.
Yeah.
So it's best that we help hold people's hands and move them along in the process. Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly.
You know me, that's my motto. I am not an expert. I'm just sharing what I learned, and I wish I knew much earlier on. But
I know that's right. Yeah. Any new insights, John and Sonia, on how you're going to make your presentation, your approach, or anything?
For me, no. I just would like to employ Joanne to allow us to get to know you. Don't give us textbook. You know, like I spoke about, Joanne. Are you there? I don't think she's there. Walked away. Joanne.
But yeah, so I re-emphasize that with her as well, because I let her know that your part is to deal with the theory, and then we expect her to share her experience. But so to just place us where she is right now in like a minute, and then go back and relive her teenage life and her relationship with her mom.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's
so
what I said.
Yes, we want to dwell on her teenage years, not what is current. Yeah.
Yes, and how it helped her.
Exactly, how it helped her as well. And I also I told her I'm going to ask her if we have time a question about what areas she thought were not met and how that has affected her. I thought that would be something good to share as well. Let me see. Oh, there she is, looking all beautiful. Let me see if Godfrey's gotten back. Let me see if Godfrey's in the waiting room. No, he is not. So the other thing that I wanted to do is when you're running out of time, I thought a good way, what I could do is give a thumbs up, like to be like I'm reacting to something you say, but I'll give you a double thumbs up. And that would probably be a cue for you to know that it's time to wind up within a minute.
Okay, that's great.
I think that's better than interrupting.
How much time?
So
mine is like 12 minutes.
Exactly. So that's what I planned. So I planned 12 minutes for you, 10 minutes for Godfrey, and then for John, about 8 to 10 minutes as well. So that by 6 o'clock, we are done with the presentation.
I have to get off 6 o'clock actually. We're not done by presentation. We're done with everything, including questions.
Right, yeah. So, because we started at 5:30, so we, as much as possible, by 5 minutes.
Oh, 6 o'clock.
Exactly.
Oh, yes.
So if we're done by 6 with the presentations, then you can do a Q&A as we go along. Exactly. Yeah. Okay. So I think that's what it's going to be. So Godfrey is not yet here. We have, oh, here he is. Hey, Godfrey. Hello. Godfrey, do you hear us? Mr. Kuteesa. Godfrey? Does anyone see Godfrey? John? Hello? Godfrey? Okay, here he is. Hi, Godfrey. Good to see you. You are, oh, you're muted. You're muted. Your mask. We're not going to give you corona, you.
I was saying give me 1 minute.
Are you chewing fish or something?
Yes, I'm chewing fish. Just 1 minute. Thank you.
So Godfrey, as you chew your fish, I'll update you on what we've discussed. So we have had a debrief of what we're going to go through. So once again, the order remains the same. So it's Sonia first, who will take 12 minutes, giving us a theoretical introduction. And then after that, we shall move on to you, who will share with us your experiences with the children you've worked with whose needs have not been met. In other words, the manifestations of needs that are unmet in children. And so you'll go for about 10 minutes, 10 to 12 minutes, and then we'll move on to Joan, who will do 8 to 10 minutes to present her portion of a young adult whose needs were met sufficiently as a teenager. The other thing that we agreed, I'm hoping you're still there, I don't see you, is that when you're running out of time, I will have my timer on. Whenever any of you is running out of time, I'll do a double thumbs up. I know I will be agreeing with the stuff you're saying, but the double thumbs up will mean it's time for you to wind up in the next minute or so. Anything to add, Godfrey, before we pray and move on? Has it dropped off?
No, everything is good. Everything is very good.
Okay,
I'm and you're very smart, and everybody, everything is good. Just go.
Can I ask a question, Godfrey?
Not my age, please.
No, it's a serious question. How was
Yeah,
your
please.
day?
Oh,
He's
hi.
afraid. He's afraid
Sonia,
of
how you
me.
doing?
You hadn't even noticed I was here. Sha, sha, sha.
I'm sorry.
He fears you'll ask
Hi,
his age.
Sonia, how are you? Everyone is smart. Okay. Yes. Hi. My
Okay,
dad.
so we have a minute
Okay.
to go. Can we have someone lead us in a prayer to surrender the time?
Godfrey.
Godfrey, please.
This
The testosterone among estrogen.
Okay, I can pray.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, let him pray.
Father,
We're
thank you for
waiting.
this day. Thank you for the speakers today. Now we speak the spirit of understanding to be with us and to work through us as we're going to be ministering and sharing with the parents around the world. Now we pray that this is not the first time, and we pray that this is not the last time. Whatever we're going to be sharing, may it be used to impact families and to grow a generation of girls and boys and women and men of tomorrow. We pray this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Godfrey.
Thank you very much, Godfrey. Guys, all the best. I know you're all prepared. May the Holy Spirit lead us all.
Yes, Miriam.
Yes, Sonia.
Remember to give me rights to
yes.
share my screen.
I should do so immediately, actually.
Yes, so that I see. I see. I don't know if there's a way of sharing the screen and not putting it on while you're talking. I don't know.
Unfortunately, not.
No. Okay, that's fine. Just.
Yeah. Unfortunately, so I'll have a screen.
But be ready. Be ready to share your screen just in case it doesn't work.
Exactly.
So just make me the host.
Okay, let me do the one. Yeah, let me just get that ready right now. I'm just trying to open up your presentation, Sonia. Give me a second there.
But then I'm going to share from my side.
Yes, I'm just going to have it ready just in case something doesn't pan out here.
All right.
Be prepared. Okay, so there it is. So it's ready. So just in case it's ready. I think it's time. I'm going to let people in. It's exactly time. Let me let everybody in now. We have 18 people waiting for us now. So they're all joining now. You see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. Slideshow. Okay. Okay, so it's exactly time. Let me get out there and make sure I can see people. Okay. So hi, everybody.
Hi, Miriam.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. We are right in time. Thank you for joining us from wherever you are. I know some of you are calling in, listening in from your cars. Some people are already at home, and it is Friday, finally. It's been a really hectic week, and we really appreciate that you've taken the time to come and join us on this Friday evening. So once again, we have an interesting topic that we are going to discuss today. One of those topics that we never have the real answers for, but we are going to do our best to address it in less than 1 hour. This is a topic that should actually take a whole year if we are to sit down and discuss it. Let me just admit some more people. Okay. So once again, this is Care 360, and I'm going to be the host and moderator tonight. I'm Dr. Miriam Laker, a medical doctor and a co-founder of Care 360. With us today, we have Sonia Kitoncho, who was here with us 2 weeks ago as well. I will introduce her in more detail as we go along. We have Godfrey Kuteesa from the Boys Mentorship Program. I shall introduce him a little more, and he will, as we go along. And then finally, we have with us John, who was recently a teenager, so we gave her rights to come and sit among the elders. So you're all really welcome. Okay, so the question today, as you can see on the screen, is what teenagers need most from their parents. And like I said, this is something that will take a whole year for us to do, but we're going to do the best that we can right now. And as we start, I'm going to send out a poll that I'll ask you all to participate in, and that's going to gauge where we are at the moment. So I'm going to launch the poll right now, and please respond as you see fit. So it's launching right now. You can start entering your responses. We have 1 minute. In 1 minute, I will put down the poll and we'll see the results. We have 30 seconds to go. So the question is, as a teenager, I feel that my parents or guardians met all my emotional needs. So is it true? Is it completely false? Is it mostly true? Or is it sort of true? We have 10 more seconds. Okay, and there we go. End polling. Let's look at the results. And there are the results. So 53% of the people here feel that their parents sort of met their emotional needs. And so the question is, if your parents sort of met your emotional needs, then what are we doing with the children now? If just sort of our needs were met, so are we doing sort of, or have we become better than that? So as we go along, we're going to hear more. So I'm going to stop sharing the results. Okay. Just a few quick things. So the last time that we had the Care 360 classroom, we talked about the development of the brain. And one of the things that we talked about is that the brain of a child, a teenager, continues developing until the age of 25, when really they are adults. And I know there are some of you here who were married by the time you were 25, meaning you were married before your brain was fully developed. And so this picture is just a cut through from the human brain. And you can see that the part that is circled red is actually the part of the brain that is concerned with making rational decisions as an adult, right? It deals with planning, thinking about the consequences of your actions, solving problems, and it controls the impulses. And so in a teenager, this part of the brain is essentially not working. It's still developing. And now when you look at that next arrow, there's that tiny little thing that you see right there. It's called the amygdala. Amygdala comes from the word acorn. So that part of the brain is the size of an acorn. That's just a bit bigger than a groundnut, right? And so that is the part of the brain that teenagers use to think. They make all their decisions using something the size of a groundnut. So you can just imagine. And that part of the brain, that's a bit of the science. So that part of the brain is an animal instinct part of the brain. We call it the primitive brain. So it's concerned with just survival, emotions, fight and flight, aggression, instinctive behavior. And some scientists have said that is a part of the brain that makes an adult or an adult animal, take note of the word animal, feel like it's ready to leave its parents and begin living on its own. So it wants to show the other members of its species that it's strong, it's able to survive, it's willing to take risks because, it's going to look after a family. So our teenagers, ladies and gentlemen, in real life, in the caveman days, would be leaving our homes. They would have no business sitting in the same cave with us, and therefore we would have no business telling them what to do. Unfortunately, we are stuck with them until they're 20-something. So the question is, what do they need from us? What do we need from them? We'll talk about that another time. Today, it's about the teenagers. So another slide, just quickly, another 30 seconds. Let me show you this one. So this is an interesting one. So most of us wonder why our teenagers are not motivated. Why are they not motivated with the promise of doing well or the promise of a reward? And so this was a study that was done that looked at the activity in the brain of a teenager and the brain of an adult. Now, the promise for this, the promise that was given for this adult and teenager was a promise for money. And you can see the red shows the part of the brain that was activated. So when the adult was promised a monetary reward, the brain was excited. But the teenager's brain was bored. You can just see that. And when they lost the reward, the adult felt really bad about it, but the teenager was really bored again. So that is what is happening in the brain of the teenager. And you can, okay. But then the reverse was true when the reward that was promised was unknown. It was an unknown reward, and it was probably a risky reward. Then the teenagers got really excited. But the adults, because their frontal cortex is developed, were like, what am I getting into? And then they didn't want to get into that risk. So that shows really how the brain of a teenager works compared to the brain of an adult. Now, I don't want to go so much in depth. I want to give Sonia the opportunity to take on from here. So Sonia Pichoncho, once again, those who have not met her, is a property consultant, but also a mentor for young people, training to become an official coach. She's a mother. She has 2 teenage sons, so she is in the throes of what we're going to discuss today. She always tells me, I wish I had known a lot of this earlier. But like we say, it is never too late to start learning. So Sonia, without much ado, welcome, and can we give her a hand of applause? Welcome, Sonia. I'll give you permission.
Thank you so much, everybody. I am going to ask for her to help me, and I share my screen. Good evening. Okay, I'm waiting for that, Miriam. In the meantime, it's interesting, but the poll results are still up on the screen, so you could click it and just have a look for those of us who have just joined, to see that most of us are already saying, I am doing an okay job, because we're all afraid of saying, no, I am not doing a good job at all. So that is what is going to be very interesting. I think you're going to have to help me and put up the screen.
Yes, I've given you permission, Sonia.
I'm requesting that you will actually just do it. Yes.
Should I do it for you?
No, you can share. You share.
Okay.
Do it for me, please.
Okay, I will.
Okay. Yes.
And do you see it?
Not yet.
Okay, just a minute there. Do we see it now?
Not yet.
Oh.
I think you have to take me off.
Let me just do that again.
You have to take back the rights.
Yes, I'm going to take away the rights from you.
Yes. We'll give everybody a chance to join, because I can see there's some people that are still joining in. In the meantime, I would like us to just ask ourselves a question. How did we become parents? We're here talking about what do teenagers need from us, but at the back of your mind, I'd like to ask yourself, was it a choice? Did you wake up in the morning and say, I want to be a parent? Was it thrown upon you? Did you take a few years and say, okay, I'm going to prepare myself to be a parent? Because it's very important for us to appreciate that we didn't wake up in the morning and say, okay, mommy, daddy, or husband, wife, let's go to school and learn how to be parents. None of us did that. And it's the same thing for our children. They didn't wake up and say, okay, let me first prepare before I get into this world called life. and get bored. So I share these so that we appreciate that both the parents and the children, we don't wake up and by magic, we know what it is like to be a parent, or we know what it's like to be a child, and moreover, what it's like to be a teenager. Miriam, any luck?
Yes, I
there
think so.
we
It
go.
should be there now. Let me
But
go.
you need to take off my notes.
Yes, I'm going
You
to
need
send
to
it
go
on,
to
put
slide
it on
mode.
screen share and on full screen. There it is.
Great. So as you can see there, we have what do teenagers need from their parents, their caregivers, or their guardians. I have said parents, caregivers, and guardians because some of the people that are in our care are not necessarily our biological children. Some of us may be grandparents. With the way we are in Africa, we tend to take in more people and look after them. But we tend to mix up the word want and need. And because we just don't want to have the stress, so we say, you know what, I don't want stress, so let me just give the child what they need, because we need peace. And I'm sure there are many of us who are in that boat. I am in one of them. From when I feel my son is just disturbing me about something that he wants, but actually doesn't need, and I'm trying to explain those two, I end up giving in and just giving to the want. Next slide, please. So how did we become parents? You on the next slide, Miriam?
Yes.
Yes. So some of us became parents by accident. You know, it was the natural next step. Like you've reached 20, you say, okay, now I'm going to get married. After marriage, you have a child. The mother and the auntie and the senga are like, have you started throwing up in the morning? You know, the usual questions. Some of us became parents through blended families. Maybe your spouse already had children, or you found your spouse looking after their siblings. Some of us intentionally said, I am going to adopt. Some of us, it was a clear choice. We went and had fertility treatment. Some of us also, unfortunately or fortunately, had no choice. Maybe we lost a loved one and we ended up taking on their children. Whichever way we became parents, none of us, like I said before, took a 1-month training and they taught us, okay, when the child is this age, this is what you do. We kind of learned on the job and hoped that maybe our experience and what other people had done, or what we had seen people doing, or what we ourselves had gone through. My father used to make us sleep at 2 o'clock in the afternoon for you know, after lunch. And you don't know why. So when you grow up and you become a parent, you also say you should sleep at 2 o'clock. Your child asks you why, you say because my father said so. So it is not that we wake up and we all have degrees in this. On the flip side, like I said, same with the children. They don't wake up and they say, now I'm going to be a child. This is how I'm supposed to behave. I share all this, like I said, to give us hope that we are all in training. I myself am in training. I have a son that's soon going to be 18 and another one that's 15. And I can assure you, every single day I am learning, I am correcting, and I am saying, okay, I didn't know that. But like Miriam said, I wish I knew these things before they became teenagers. So ladies and gentlemen, do not be surprised when your children will act immature, they will act crazy, they will act irrational. Just as Miriam has explained, remember that at the age of 9 all the way to 25, the frontal cortex that controls the emotion, that has all of a sudden been released in these children's brains, in our children's brains, in our babies' brains, has not fully developed. So that's where we as the parents come in to help and guide and gently take them through this very, very confusing 10 years or so of their lives. And it's actually quite scary. If you remember how you were as a teenager and you're honest with yourself, there were times when you just were like, what am I going through? In the morning, you're happy. In the evening, you're sad. And you kind of like have nobody to really guide you. Next slide, please. So now we come to, okay, we've known all this background. So what do teenagers need? This is not an exhaustive list, as you can see. What teenagers need on the next slide is actually a summary. I've tried to just break it down into 4 main areas. Why? Because each of these areas has even more side journeys. The one thing that teenagers need from us, the caregivers, is connection. What do I mean? The teenager needs to feel that you're engaging them, they're involved, you acknowledge they exist, not this thing of children are supposed to be seen and not heard. You give them value so that they have a sense of, for us, when we come from the north of our country, our culture is this, and they have a sense of community and a sense of pride. We shouldn't only be talking and connecting with our children when we're telling them, you did this wrong, you did that wrong. It shouldn't always be just, I am talking to my child when it comes to their behavior. Because what you're telling the child is, the only time I speak to you is to correct you. And yet the child is like any one of us. If the only time your boss talks to you is to scold you, every time you see them and you see them opening their mouth, you're just going to be scared. So what happens? The children retreat. They develop defense mechanisms, and they also now start getting this, you know, like where you can beat a child and the child stops crying. And you're like, I don't know what's wrong with this child. This child is not crying. It's because the child doesn't feel connected to you. So how do we do this? Ask them what they like to do. Sit, watch, and observe. Maybe you notice this girl loves pink all the time, and you tell her, but why do you like pink? You'll be amazed at what teenagers will share with you if you're willing to engage them, if you're willing to involve them. When you're repairing the car, the men, okay, some of the women do it these days, there's a problem with the car. Call your son, call your daughter over and say, do you know anything about mechanics? And they'll tell you, no, I was watching Top Gear and this and that happened. Just those 10 minutes, the child will walk away feeling, wow, my dad, my mom, they acknowledged me, even though they really didn't contribute, but they just felt that sense of connection. The second thing is their emotional core needs need to be met. Now, this is really diverse, but I'll break it down into as simple as I can. We as human beings, what is your emotional core need? Some of us want to feel acknowledged. Some of us want to feel accepted. Some of us want to feel loved. Some of us don't want us to feel that you're judging us all the time. So the children have the same. They all want to feel understood. You know, the common thing of, my parents don't understand me. It's because the child's emotional core needs are not met, because the child doesn't feel connection. We all need this. And one of the key ways of having emotional core needs met is by understanding what are your love languages. That's another topic, but the summary is, those of us who've heard about the 5 love languages, our children have different love languages. Okay, I might say as a parent, yeah, but I'm showing love to my child. But what do? You just come, how are you, Sonia? Wow, thank you. Words of affirmation. But Sonia's love language is actually gifts. So every time Sonia sees you coming back from work, she's looking to see, have you carried anything for me? And when you don't, you'll say, but I love this child. What's wrong? This child is not responding, because the child doesn't feel your love. So I'm not saying that we're doing a bad job at whatever we're doing. All I'm saying is I made the same mistakes. I didn't understand that my little boy's love language was quality time. So because I was busy running all over the place, pick them up, thinking I'm being a good parent, I pick up my children from school. And then one day my son told me, but I don't feel you love me. I was in shock. Why? Because he wants me to take him away from everybody, sit with him and ask him, how are you? How did this go? He doesn't want gifts. That's all he needed. So it's now a journey of us getting to understand these things. Remember, I'm just giving us an overview. The third thing that our children need from us as teenagers is autonomy. We have a tendency as adults to say, but why can't you be like so-and-so's child? Why can't you be like your younger child, your younger sister? Why can't you be? Why can't you be? And the child is saying, but mommy, I am me. Why don't you acknowledge that I am different? So this doesn't start as teenagers. This actually starts from before. You notice this child likes to pick. You know, there's a certain age where you start buying for kids clothes and they never wear them. It's because the child is beginning to get their own autonomy. So allow them, encourage it, but obviously respectfully. This helps create very healthy independence, not unhealthy independence, but a healthy independence, so that as they become teenagers, they're not easily swayed around by the crowd. And if a child grows up and is not having a sense of autonomy of their own person as who they are and feeling accepted, they will end up being fearful. These are children that are timid. They're children that cannot make a decision. They're children that when you speak to them, they're looking down because they don't feel confident. Now, the fourth part that teenagers need, that all of us as parents love, but unfortunately we're not really taught how to deliver, is boundaries. Children need boundaries, they need guidance, they need realistic expectations, and they need regulation. Now, let me give an example. The parent tells the son that if you come back home, the child says there's a party I would like to go. The parent says, go. Then the dad says that if you come back home after 8 p.m., you're going to wash these cars at 6 in the morning. The teenager says, okay, daddy, goes out, Instead of coming at 8, the teenager comes at 9, afraid that daddy is going to get upset. Daddy just says, hey, you're back. Okay, quiet. Life goes on. Teenager is thinking, I escaped. What happened? Relieved. So the teenager thinks, there's no boundary. I can push it. Next time the teenager decides to go out, doesn't even inform anybody, comes back at 10 p.m., the dad blows a fuse, grounds him, confiscates his phone, punishes him, tells the whole world. And the boy is like, but last time I came back at 8, you didn't do anything. Now I've come back at 10, I'm confused. The child is already confused with the emotions and lack of regulation. Now we're adding more confusion by not being clear about the boundaries and making it clear to them by our actions that there are consequences to breaking these boundaries. Now, part of the parenting that helps us be able to come up with all these is going to be seen in the next slide. As you can see, I'm really skimming through it. And if you have any questions, please post them so that we can try and answer them as much as possible. So what are the different types of parenting that bring about these problems? Next slide, please. In order for us to understand what kind of parenting can help effectively and healthily deliver these things that we're talking about, we have to look at the 4 different types of parenting. We have the aggressive parent. The aggressive parent is the disciplinarian. There's no negotiation. Punishment is common. Communication is mostly, I am the one talking, giving instructions. And it's usually done with a lot of force. And rules are not explained. Don't sit on that table. You don't explain why. And there is less love and less nurturing. It's more like military style. And the expectations are really unrealistic. And children under this kind of parenting tend to be fearful. And when they hear daddy has come back home or mommy, they scatter and run because they don't want to be in the way of anybody. The second kind of parent is the permissive parent or the indulgent. They let their child do whatever they want. There's limited guidance. The child is more like a friend of the parent. You know, the parent can even be in the living room and their guest. The child comes and even stands there, puts his hand there and says, hey, dad, what's up? It's because the child doesn't know any boundaries, because the parents are very permissive. Now, these parents on the other side tend to be very nurturing because the children never feel any aggression from them. But these kids, when they grow up entitled and they think, but my dad let me do it, so why are you stopping me? They don't know no, they don't know yes, or there's just basically no boundaries and it's freelance. The third kind of parent is the democratic one. Now, this one is totally uninvolved because this parent doesn't want stress. The parent gives the children a lot of freedom and stays out of their way to avoid responsibility. What are we going to do? What does everybody think? Okay, what everybody thinks, we go with it, because they really are, it's difficult. And maybe that's how they also grew up. And there are no expectations. There's little nurturing. So the child more or less figures themselves along the way. The fourth kind of parent is the assertive parent or the authoritarian. Now, this parent is very reasonable. The parent is nurturing, sets very high and clear expectations, and very clear explanation as to why they're setting these expectations. In fact, the parent involves the child and says, okay, now, this is what I feel. What do you think? Even if the child gives their opinion, the parent still affirms their authority. But the child feels there was communication. The child feels there was involvement. And these children tend to be very self-disciplined. They think for themselves. And as you can all already guess, this is the most effective parenting style. Do we all do this? No. Have I been this? No. I have a mix of all the 4 at any one time, but I am constantly aware that I need to learn to be the assertive parent. I know this has been too much in a short space of time, but I'd like to summarize what we're learning here by some insights. The next slide, please. There is Amanda Morgan and L.R. Nost that once said, the first one is, you must first teach a child he is loved. Only then is he ready to learn everything else. As you can see, there has to be a foundation. If I feel that you listen to me, you love me, you acknowledge me, when I come and I tell you, you did this wrong, there's more room for you to listen. And when we're communicating with children, the 5 positive words we speak 1 negative. The 5 times I praise you, scold me once. so that that balance allows me to be able to absorb. But if every time it is 5 negative, and once in a while I hear, well done, the child grows up saying, my father never said anything nice to me. I'm not saying spoil your child by telling them good things where there isn't. But even as we're doing the good things, come from, you know what? You actually are an amazing child. You really are very determined when you decide to do things you're passionate about. I just wish you could use the same passion to help when it comes to doing the chores in the house. You see, you're creating that environment for somebody to be able to absorb. But this starts early, because if you start trying to do this later, when the tree has already grown out of sync, then there's a problem. The other one is, L.R. North said, every day, in 100 small ways, our children ask, do you hear me? Do you see me? Do I matter? And obviously, their behavior often reflects our response. Do you hear me? No. Miriam was sharing with me how a student in Kisubi, the child did something wrong, and he told the teachers, yeah, daddy will come because I've done something wrong. But when I do anything good, daddy doesn't come. So guess what? In order to get daddy's attention, this child is most probably going to always do something wrong. The child is just saying, do you hear me? Do you see me? Do I matter? Both when it's good or bad. Finally, what teenagers really need from us parents, I can leave this with you, you can take a screenshot of it, is from raising teens today, because I read a lot about it, because I've had to be a single parent, both mom and dad, for the last 13 years. And as you can imagine, I have accidentally ended up trying to be very forceful, because I'm like, no, these are boys. They have to know what it's like to be a man in the world. And I've made mistakes along the way. But I wish I knew that in order for my children to grow to be healthy, all they needed from me is to be calm in their storm. Because remember, they are going through a confusing time. They need patience, a lot of patience. But what happens is, usually when you hear a parent talking to a child, it's like the parent is the teenager. The parent is screaming, shouting, raising the voice. And the teenager is looking like, when are you going to finish? When you're done, you let me know so that I can go back, because clearly you don't love me. They need us to be their biggest cheerleader. They need to feel the warmth of our touch. We need to be truly present in their lives. That's the next slide. I hope we're there. They need guidance, even when they don't accept it. We still have to stay firm, the authoritarian parent, the assertive parent, and say, right now, you don't like what I'm saying. I usually say this to my boys. You don't like what I'm saying right now, but you'll thank me later. But as for now, this is my home, and these are the rules. And I've explained the rules to you, and there is no more discussion. But I'm able to say that because obviously I've had a bit of, well done, thank you, and all those things. They want us to remember what it was like to be a teenager. They want us to love them fiercely and unconditionally, even when they are not very lovable. And trust me, I know, I have 2 teenage boys. There are times when I feel like, what am I doing here? I want to scream. I want to sometimes even say, you know what? I don't want to talk to you for today. But that is not being the parent. That's me now throwing a tantrum and behaving like a teenager. I hope in some small way, this has helped us to be able to just have a general understanding of what the teenagers need from us. And it's not perfect. I know I'm ready to answer all sorts of questions, but it's just like, how do you say, the umbrella of one of the things, or some of the things that I have been trying, I have learned, I've seen people trying, and even I get feedback from my children, and they say, yeah, mommy, sometimes we just felt that you didn't get us, you didn't understand us, you're just doing your own thing. Yes, we know we want money, we have to eat, but can't you just stop talking on the phone and just listen to me about my day? And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I lost 6 years of this kid's life. So I am actually playing catch up. And my 18-year-old told me, mommy, I'm so scared. I'm losing my youth. I was thinking, what's wrong with this one? Then I remember, Sonia, frontal cortex is not developed. So I sit, I breathing, and I'm like, he's in a good place. He's playing football. What is his problem? But like I said, it's never going to stop. Even after 25, I live with my mother, and I see her sometimes looking at me and looking like, this child of mine. Parenting never ends. But I hope that in some way this helps. There's so many other things that we can talk about: temperament, character, personality. But Miriam only gave me 10 minutes. Actually, she added 12. So blame her. But thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, Sonia. A round of applause for Sonia. Sonia, that was excellent. First, show a child that he's loved, then you can do everything else. I remember some years ago, a parent brought their child to me. I think I gave you a bit of this story the last time we met. A girl who was expelled in her second term of S4 because she had alcohol in school, and she said she wasn't thinking. But I spent some time and just had a long discussion with both the mother and the daughter. And guess what I found out? Because I asked this girl, you're 16, when did you start drinking beer and all sorts of alcohol? She said, you know, at home we have a lot of alcohol and we drink beer with my parents. And so this child had learned from her mom and dad, learned to drink alcohol at home and had carried it on to school. So like Sonia said, our children need guidance. How are we guiding our teenagers? Before we move on to the next presentation, let's do a quick poll. It's not coming up now. There's another device that has held it up. But yeah, so let's move on to the next presenter. So our next presenter is none other than Godfrey Kuteesa. Many of you are aware of who he is. Lisa, please get off from being a host so I can continue hosting, please. So Godfrey Kuteesa runs the program called the Boys Mentorship Program. This is a program that focuses on teaching boys from the age of 7 to 17 about how to be men, what is expected of a man in this world. And so Godfrey has done this for a number of years, and he is here today to share with us what happens when the core needs of a teenager are not met. He has a lot of experience and is going to share this experience with us. Godfrey, you're welcome. Godfrey?
All right. Thank you very much, Miriam. I hope you can see me and
yes.
Oh, you can't see me. Oh yes, now there
now
you
we can see
me.
you.
Okay. I greet you all. Hey, hi Esther. I greet you all. Thank you, Sonia, for such a very good submission. When I was tasked to be a part of this workshop, it was really challenging. What teenagers need. The question is what teenagers need from what teenagers need from their parents. I want to talk on the side of boys, you know. As a person who experiences a lot of, who gets in touch with a lot of teenagers, I try to find some common denominators with these teenagers, and when I look deep into what exactly where exactly they're coming from, I realize and I figure that there are certain elements that are in this family, and you find them in this family, and you find them in this family. Sonia was talking about the different types of parenting. The different types of parenting. I come from the school of thought that subscribes to the other type of parenting, the authoritative, yes, but then the assertive as well. I come from that school of thought. Why? Because, and I'm speaking, please don't forget that I'm speaking on the side of boys. I know you've said teenagers, but don't forget I'm speaking on the side of boys. Many times we want to fall into the other type of parenting, the democratic. And when we fall into the democratic type of parenting, it's called role confusion. Role confusion, whereby the parent is not sure either to be a parent or the child. Hi, Elijah, do you think we can buy a Christmas tree? So Elijah said, but for what? said, I was just asking. Maybe you would like it. No, I don't like that stuff. It's crappy. Oh, okay, okay, okay. What do you think we should buy? Now, the thing here that I don't know if it's Sonia or Miriam mentioned is the need and the want. A teenager needs a parent. I'm just going to give you one answer. A teenager, especially a male teenager, a boy, needs a parent. Not you, like we've been doing or we constantly do. We end up sharing the roles. In fact, Sonia has mentioned we exchange the roles, and psychologist Leonard Sachs wrote about it. What we call role exchange. The parents are not sure to act as parents. Why? Because they will find themselves nagging and disturbing and annoying and annoying kids, and they don't want to do that. So the biggest number of teens that I experience who have not gotten that need of a parent, Miriam, I wish I can see you because that way I can be able to talk. So the parents, oh yes, very good to see you. So the parents, when you find a parent who is, sorry, have I messed up the technology? Sorry. When you find a parent who has given or has given their, exchanged their role with the teenager, when this teenager comes on my side, what do? Of course, I take back the authority. I'm giving examples in my boot camps. Last year, I had a boot camp, and one of the teens was 15. So it was time to wake up and jog. That was around 4 a.m. So when they reached to wake him up, he said, I'm not waking up. What's the use of this? So the instructors called me and said, Mr. Kuteesa, this young man has refused to wake up. And of course, kind as I am, I had to go there. And to be able to, I did not see the reason as to why we had to negotiate. The idea is to wake up and go and jog. There's no compromise on that. Why? Because, first of all, I am taking up a role of a parent in these 10 days. I'm taking up a role of a parent. But I am also sure that at home, you are negotiating on things. But here I come and say, no, you don't ask. Wake up and jog with the rest. Now, when this young man, I realized the challenge where he was coming from, and as the mom was explaining that now you see, even at home, when we tell him, sometimes he has to. So here at home, there is no parent. In fact, the young man is the parent, is the one giving orders. What do teenagers need from parents? They need a parent. Now, Sonia has mentioned that she doubles up. She moves across the different parenting styles, and that's very good. She knows where. But I'm also forced to say that maybe Sonia is being able to do that because she realized and she accepted that she's doing it solo. Yes, she's doing it solo. Now, for many of us who have got daddy and mommy, whereby there is daddy and mommy, sometimes, not all the time, sometimes we tend to think that so-and-so will act the assertive parent and I will act the democratic parent, or so-and-so will act the democratic, and I will come up as the authoritative parent. And in so assuming, we by the time we realize that even the other person is expecting you to act this way, and even you are expecting them to act the other way. So teenagers start manipulating their parents. Now, I want to finish my presentation in this way. Teenagers, like you gave us the brain science just over there. They need a parent. And who is a parent? A parent is someone who, who takes the responsibility to raise a child. You take the responsibility to raise a child. Now, raising a child is a verb. It's not a noun. Parenting, like I keep on saying, is a verb. You have to act. You have to be a parent. They have to feel you. Miriam was sharing the brain science, whereby the boy at a certain point he's bored and he doesn't see any reward. And today I was in the forest with a few teens, like 4 of them, and I decided to talk about pads. Just pads. I just wanted to know, what do they know about female and women and bleeding and periods? And just as I said, hi guys, let's talk about periods. What do you know about bleeding and women bleeding? 4 of them laughed. I said, what's funny? What's funny? Because I'm not laughing. I am serious. I want us to have an honest. Okay, what has made you laugh? So when I started pointing out that what has made you laugh, everyone started keeping quiet. No, I'm just laughing. For me. Now that's when we started getting into deep conversation. And you can imagine what they thought about women bleeding and girls bleeding. It is the wrong information. Now, if you say that, come on, they're teens, they know these things. Come on, they know. After all, they're big people. Oh, they know these things. Now, you start assuming, and then by the time you see them developing, yesterday, let me give you another example. Yesterday, I was talking to them about, I think it's you, Dr. Miriam, who has brought an example of development at 22. Is that it? Did you say 22? 22?
25.
25, very good. And then, but with Leonard Sachs explains it this way. He says that a girl from teenagehood to enter into womanhood starts at the age of 22. And then he goes on to explain that for a boy to fully mature comes up with the age of 24, sometimes even 25. Then I was telling the boys that, your classmates, by the time you get to 15 years or 16 years, you will not be able to reason with them. I said, why? But we are the same age. I said, no. The process of mediation with a girl is different from a boy. A 12-year-old and a 12-year-old boy and a 12-year-old girl, they are different. They think differently. What they focus on is different. Now, when we come to a point of boys, when they become teenagers, they want to feel that, come on, who is it to tell me? Come on. But mommy, you overshout. Come on. But mommy, can't you just speak slowly? I can listen. But come on. But mommy, I know what I'm doing. You don't need to tell me. But come on. But when you figure that they are getting into, now they are starting to, I'm not trying to say growing wings. I don't know the part of growing wings, like we used to say. They're not growing wings. But there, the need, who's that? Sonia mentioned about autonomy. They need autonomy. But now, when we give autonomy, I keep on teaching parents that at that age, hands off, but eyes on. Yes? Oh, yes, Jed, I know what you're doing. I know you know what you're doing. But it doesn't hurt for me to be around. Does it? Oh yes. You said, oh, you know what you're doing. Oh, okay. He will come and say, Mommy, can I try your car? But you very well know that that age cannot be able to reason like a mature person, cannot make sound decisions on the road. Now, just because he needs autonomy and he says, oh, Mommy, can I try your car? You say, let him learn. You see, the excitement is different to an extent that they will not be able to make sound decisions. That's why, actually, for me, at that age, I get to the level of saying this is the crashing age. Why? Especially to the boys. This is the crashing age because they want to try out. And young men, teenagers, especially teenagers, when they see someone, their what is that? Their testosterone is high at that point. They want to be able to say, if so and so is doing it, come on, I can do it. Yes. And in certain fields, they chicken out. They say, I don't want. I shouldn't do that. In certain fields, they get excited. At this age, you never thought that they would try out basketball. But because everyone in the dormitory is trying out basketball, they want to try out basketball. At that age, you never thought that they would do baseball. But because everybody in the office is doing, in the dormitory is talking about baseball, and because it's the talk of the dormitory, they want to try out. What do you do as a parent? You stay in your position as the parent. You say, okay, yes, Elijah, you want to play baseball, but how much time are you going to give in? How much effort are you going to give in? Besides baseball, what else do you want to do? In fact, at this age, when we tend to do hands off and eyes off, this is where Miriam, you know, the psychologist who came up with the development stages. I forget the name. The psychologist who came up with the development stages. And at that particular stage between was it 12 and 15, 12 and 15, there is that stage whereby there is discovery. They're discovering. They want to try out new things. They want to try out. Now, in the process of wanting to try out new things, once a parent is not in their face, they end up creating their own world. And I constantly teach and I constantly tell parents that at that age, much as the young man is crying for autonomy and is crying to be left alone, he's crying to be left in the bedroom alone. Mommy, don't come in without knocking. Come on. I'm grown up now. Mommy, you don't need to tell me to bathe. Much as they constantly push you away, they need you even more. Why? A boy at that age needs the parent even more. But when you are there, be very careful not to impair their ability to make their own decisions. Now, mark what I'm saying. Be very careful not to disable. Yes? Be very careful not to disable. I call it disabling their GPS. You want to be in his face. You want to be able to guide him. Yes? But as you are guiding him, try to enable his GPS. When I talk about the GPS, I mean him making or finding his own way. You all have phones. My time is up. You all have phones. And there is this navigating app that you can just put on whereby you say, I want to go to, let's say, Ntinda. And it tells you that I'm not able to direct you to Ntinda unless you enable my GPS. Now, every child, every boy needs to have their GPS activated. Now, when their GPS is activated, they're able to find their own direction as you are watching. Thank you very much. That's enough.
Thank you very much, Godfrey. Godfrey can speak for a year if you don't like. shut him down. Godfrey, that was amazing. And for people, I know he was mentioning boys over and over again, but Godfrey works with boys all the time. So he always refers to boys, but everything he said refers to both boys and girls. So without much ado, we'll just move on to the next presenter, but I'll give you a small analogy I read about one time. In this analogy, they said the relationship between a parent and their teenage child, it should be just like the relationship you have with the swimming pool. When you've just started to swim, you hang around the shallow end and you hold onto the railing and the wall of the swimming pool. And as you get better, you swim out a little bit, but you hurry and come back to the wall of the swimming pool and stay near the wall generally. As you get better at swimming, you begin to venture out into the deep end. Can you imagine if the wall of the pool kept following you wherever you went, coming along with you? It would be really limiting. But then you want to know that if I get tired of swimming in the deep end, I can swim back to the wall and find the wall exactly where I left it and as solid as I left it. Imagine if you reach the wall and touch it and it crumbled. It would be a nightmare. So for us parents, we are like the walls of a swimming pool. Let's allow the children to swim and let us be an ever-present constant in their lives. When they need us, they should come back and find us exactly where we are. Thank you very much, Godfrey. And we're going to move on to the next presenter, who is a young lady called Joanita. Joanita is the first mentee of CARE 360, recently graduated with a bachelor's degree in business administration and management, graduated top of her class. While in the university, she opened a charitable organization, which she runs today. She used to run a food business. Currently, she works with CIPLA Uganda. She's into the fashion industry, runs a YouTube page. So we've chosen Joan because she's 22 years old and very recently a teenager. And we know that as parents, when we're being hard on our children, it's because we want them to be good adults at the end of the day. We want them as young adults to be independent, to be mature, to think reasonably. And Joan is an example of a child who has become the way she is because of the emotional input that she received from her parent. So Joan is going to share her story with us. She will dwell a little bit on her adulthood, but most of the time, for the sake of this presentation, she's going to tell us about how her needs were met or not met as a teenager. Joanita, you're welcome.
Hi, thank you, Miriam.
You're welcome.
So I'm going to talk about how parents can meet the emotional needs of their teenage children, basing on my experiences. Yes. So for this to happen, I'm going to go a little bit back in time and sort of tell you like my story and everything. So when I was 4 years old, my mom left my father and started like afresh with nothing. So we left with nothing, no home, nothing. We even said most of my baby pictures were left behind. So we came to live with my auntie and my uncle and my cousins, Miriam being one of them. And we were given 2 beds as a start from where to sleep. And we used to sit on the floor. We had, and we built things one by one. And I remember my mom going for an interview while still in her security guard uniform for a job interview, because she was a security guard and she actually got that job. And so I think a lot of my hard work today comes from watching her work hard, from starting from nothing to what she's built today. I remember her going to school because she didn't have a degree at the time, going to school, taking me to school, being able to pay the school fees in time while taking care of things at home as well. She was doing everything. And so being able to see that as a child, you sort of have someone to look up to. And so I was like, if somebody is able to do all these things, and then what limits me in my life? You get, there's nothing that limits you when you put your mind to it. And that's how basically I learned. And so when you fast forward to 2020, and she's now the decision support manager sales at her current job. I just completed the university. I work with CIPLA. All these things, when I go back to 2002, would not actually, I would never think would be here. She built, her own house by herself. And so the first thing that I learned when I was young is don't stay, in a bad situation. It's never too late to walk away. It's okay. And right now in my current life, I would never, put myself in a bad situation, because I know, I have seen that there is an option. And so let's talk about the first topic, which is anatomy that Sonia talked about. Let me give an example of anatomy when I was growing up. When I was growing up, I remember when I was 13 or 14, and my mom said, "You're going to be cooking. Come to the kitchen, I'm going to show you how to cook." And so for the Achwalis here, if you know, like Dekno, and I was supposed to cook that. And I remember I was so annoyed with her. I just was so annoyed, and in my head, I was like, why are you teaching me this? Like, how is it necessary for me to learn how to cook? I could be watching TV, I could be doing other things with my time. And so, but she would tell me, it's going to help you in the future. And in my head, I'd be like, when? As I was not interested at all. And now, fast forward, when I was 17 or 16, she started to travel a lot for her job. And so I actually would do a lot of the cooking. I could actually feed myself. Like if I woke up, I could make breakfast, I could make lunch, I could make dinner. I could do it all because she laid that foundation earlier on for me to be able to do that. Also, another example is, going to school. I went to university at Nkozi, which is on Masaka Road. I remember the first time I was taken to school. And the second time she was like, "You know where school is?" It's like, wait, what? And so I had to go figure out where the new park was, figure out where the taxis going to Nkozi are, figure out where to stop the taxi at. I remember sitting next to the conductor. I didn't sleep the whole time, just afraid that they'd pass by. But I reached school and I called and I was like, "I've reached." And she's like, "You see, you reached." So and from that time, I used to come back and go to school alone when I would come back home. And that's another example of teaching, I think, autonomy and giving a child space. And if she was to take me for over 3 years, I would not have gained those experiences or learned to take a taxi that far away on my own. And for example, maybe if she was too busy or she wasn't around, then what would happen? So that's another example of autonomy. Also, I'd say she'd give me space when I was a teenager to go meet my friends. And one of the rules was, she had to know them as well. So I would say, "Oh, can I go with my friends at, Garden City?" And she'd say, "Yes. What time are you going to be back?" And I'd say, "By 3. And I would be back by 3. We had boundaries. She already laid those boundaries from the start. But as well, I had the ability to go and meet them. But in the back of my mind, I knew that I had to be back by 3, or else there were going to be consequences. Even as little as Miriam could attest to this. When I would want to go shopping with her, I would call my mom first and say, "Oh, I'm going shopping with Miriam today at 2, and then we would go. I would always, let her know where I was going, even if she wasn't around, even if she, was in another country or something like that, I would always do that. Another topic that I think Sonia and talked about was emotional support and love. When I was 13, I think I started being bullied for my skin color a lot. Like, I would come back home crying and like, I'm so ugly, oh my God. And I remember she told me, you're beautiful, John. And I tell her, you, my mother, how can you tell me I'm ugly? That's not possible. And so I remember thinking about bleaching, and I was like, I just want to be a little prettier. And so I couldn't bleach because every time at the back of my mind, her words would replay. And so if she didn't tell me that, then, I would have actually gone and bleached, because my self-confidence was so low that I needed her to be there at the back of my mind telling me, even if as a teenager I thought I didn't need it, but if you think about it then, I actually did need it. And I remember when, is it Lupita won her award, she opened and showed me, and she's like, see, like, see what I'm talking about there. And I actually used to watch her speech a lot, and it would replay in my brain, and that's how I started to build confidence. And so always be present with your children. Pay attention. She or he might not tell you what's going on, but you would notice signs that something isn't right, that, maybe she's being bullied or this is happening. Try to engage in conversation. I think even if most times as a teenager you don't want to talk to your parents, like you're not interested in having a conversation, but if you show that you're interested and you care, and say, how was school today, or this, or you don't look okay, what's wrong, they'll actually open up to you and say this is wrong and that is wrong. And so also I'd say another example of emotional support and love is my mom used to travel to Nairobi. She used to work in Nairobi, and she never missed any visitation day. She never missed any class day. She would actually come from Nairobi to school to see me. Sometimes it would be, I remember sometimes she came for visitation for 15 minutes because she had a plane to catch in the evening. So I remember I was in Namagunga, which was in Lugazi, and she drove to Lugazi to see me. Then she went straight to Entebbe Airport. And in S4, she told her workplace, oh, my daughter is in S4, I can't miss going to see her. And so she came from Nairobi to school, saw me, then went back to Nairobi. And like, I saw her do this, and I was like, she didn't have to come. She could have just said, I'm too busy, I'm in a different country, I can't come. But she said, no, I'm going to come. And today it's made an impact because I felt loved and like appreciated and cared for. And even when she wasn't there, there was always someone there to take her place. For example, if when she wasn't there to pick me and Miriam came and picked me from school, there was always that attention given. And so sometimes I see a lot of teenagers or sometimes my friends say like, oh, our parents are always so busy, you come back home, this call, that call, work call, come back at 9, 10, and everyone just goes to sleep. And so you don't get a chance to just talk to your child, and so they feel unloved, even if you might buy them gifts or you might take them out for ice cream or take them to Java's. They still feel unloved, and you're wondering, why is my kid feeling unloved? And yet they get all these things that some children wouldn't get. And so such acts of care definitely like make your child feel like you love them and care for them. And I also think that learning your child, like, it's also a good thing. And like for me, for example, I'm a kind of person that likes to hear words of affirmation. Like if I have like a job interview and you tell me, Joan, you can do it, you can do this. Or if I have a test, sometimes I'd have a test in school for like accounting, and I'd actually call her and say, I have an accounting test, oh my God, it's tomorrow, I don't think I can do it. And just hearing her say, but you've read, but you can actually do it. And the next day I'd go and do the test with that affirmation that I can do it. But if imagine I'd called her and she said, so now you've read, so now why are you calling me? You get, if she had done that, I would say, but I just wanted to just talk to you. So another thing that I'll talk about is consequences to an action, boundaries. They were always, this will lead to that. Like Sonia said, you always, at the back of your mind, even if you did something, as a teenager, you'd do something I know I'm going to get punished either way, but I would still get punished, and I would know that there was a consequence if I didn't, for example, like wash the dishes, and she came home and I was just sitting watching TV, she'd say, go and wash the dishes first. Just go like clean the room and do this and do that. So there was always a consequence to an action, not getting away with things easily. So at the back of your mind, you always know that this leads to that. And I think another thing also that helped was getting to know my friends, getting to know the people that I would hang out with. You know, I should call them home and they'd come see me, or just like at school, maybe on visitation day, asking, oh, where are your friends? I'd like to meet them. And so that interaction with your friends would tell her that I'm hanging out with, or would let her know who my closest people are. And that, I think, was important as well. And so my friends' parents also knew me. And so when something would happen, they would, you know, it would be easy to contact me or call me. So that is also, I think, was important for me as well, for her to get to know my friends. And I think another thing is the idea of like a perfect family. I was raised by a single mom, but I never felt that there was something that I was missing. I always felt loved and appreciated, and I always had role models around me, my cousins and my mom. I was always looking, and my auntie and uncle, there was always someone that I was looking at for inspiration and for guidance. And so having plenty of role models in your teenager's life is very important. I remember I'd hang out a lot with Miriam, and we'd talk and this and that. And so if I didn't talk to my mom, I knew I had Miriam to talk to, or Pamela, or somebody else. So always having good role models around your teenager and people around them, so that if they don't talk to you, you know that there's always someone that they can lean on. And I think maybe I was actually sitting down thinking of what I didn't get as a teenager, and it took me some time. That's how I know that my mom did a good job. I think something that was that I don't know how to say this. She worked, I think, a lot. Sometimes on Christmases, on New Year's, where I felt like I really wanted her to be around, but at the same time, I knew that she was working, she was building something, and also she always made sure that I was with people and I was cared for and catered for. And so that is what I had to talk about. Yes. Thank you.
A round of applause for Joan. Joan is fabulous, amazing testimony. You know, many times people say they are too busy. We've just had someone ask a question about being too busy to get time to look after their children because of work. And John has given us an example of a mother who used to come from overseas to see her for 15 minutes and go back. I read something that said, many times we as parents spend so much time chasing money, and in the meantime, we are losing things that money cannot buy. We are losing our children. We are losing the relationship we have with our children. When Joan talked about having someone to talk to when she was worried about something that many parents would say doesn't matter, this her skin color. You mean, you know, you won't find many parents who are going to spend time talking to their children about things like that. But what we need to know is that in the developing world, we don't have data in our country yet, but in the developing world, for teenagers, after accidents, the most common cause of death among teenagers is suicide. And usually suicide because these are children who have no one to talk to about the things that to them is important, and for other people and for their parents doesn't seem important. So as parents, we really need to be there for our children. We need to listen to them. In my interaction with young people, one of the things that I've come across is most of the teenagers say, when their parents are talking to them, they usually want to talk to them about academics. How are you performing in school? What grades did you get last term? Have you improved? And personally, I have a problem with the current system where on visiting Sundays, there's one visiting Sunday a term, and during that visiting Sunday, the focus is on some tests that the children have done. Remember, parents have not seen their children for a month and a half, and you get to school, your focus is on academics, and then you're bashing the child for not doing well. You don't know what has happened, why the child hasn't performed well. So a lot of teenagers say our parents only talk to us about our academic performance, and they don't talk to us about anything else. So as parents, we have a lot to do. We need to find a balance, but it's difficult, but it is doable. We have about 5 minutes to go, and I want to open up the floor for any questions. If you have a question, please post it on the chat, and we will have panelists answer the question. So feel free to write your question and send it on the chat. There's a question that has come, and the person says, with 10 hours working, where is the time to be a parent? Godfrey, do you want to answer that question? The parent says they're working 10 hours a day, they do not have time to be a parent. Where should they find that time?
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. They work 10 hours a day, and but you brought an analogy of the swimming pool. Yeah. Parenting doesn't mean being, policing. Yes, because we misunderstand that just by the way we misunderstand disciplining. When someone hears disciplining, they think of, reprimanding, caning, and things like that, being tough or whatever it is. But it doesn't mean that, really. So parenting as well does not mean you being there, police that, hey, hey, do not do this. Hey, no. Parenting, like I said, it's a verb. If you know that you do not have time, then that's the best time you have to be able to teach your children to be able to take their own responsibility. Parenting is more of teaching a child to be able to stand on their own, to stand alone, to take responsibility. So, because if you think about the idea that you want to be around all the time to do parenting, you might never get the time. Yes, but each time you teach your child to be able to make his own decision. That's when they said, this child was grown up. Oh, from where? Oh, this child was grown from where? Oh, this child was grown from where? You maximize the time you have to educate or to teach, actually to parent your child such that even when you're not there, they can be able to do exactly what you have taught them. Yes. But now that happens, let me just add on this, just another minute. But now that is only possible, yes, when you have created a foundation. Yes, when you have created a foundation, I have seen and have experienced parents that were not around in the formative years. Yes. Now they come to be around when the young man, let's say, is 15 or 16 or 17 or something. Now, that stage, the young man is crying out for autonomy, is crying out for to be on his own, but now the father is coming in. I mean, the parent is coming in. No, this is how it's just supposed to be. Now, you see, you did not create a ground. You did not create a fertile a foundation to be able to water. Now, parenting is just like a flower, whereby you have to keep on watering on a daily basis, watering on a daily basis, watering on a daily basis. Now, when you are not around, what you do, you say, you look around and say, I might not be around the other day and the other day and the other day, but now let me put enough water, and let me watch this flower in a shade to make sure that it does not dry out. That's what parenting is all about. Even if you don't have those many hours, but when you are around, do you teach your child to be able to stand on their own? That's what parenting is. It's a verb. I come back to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Godfrey. You know, one thing that we do as a family, because we, as parents, we are busy as well. We date our children. We have 4 children, which means we're outnumbered. And so we date our children. Either we take some time out with them, or in a day, we carve out 15 minutes to be with one child, to listen to that child, to talk with them. So it's a special mommy and child time or daddy and child time. And we find that that has really helped us a lot to come to understand our children, the way they think of us, and then what we think about them. So that has really helped us a lot. It could be something that people could try. The other question says, can aggressive parenting cause emotional breakdown? Sonia has had to leave us, so Godfrey, I'm going to throw this back to you as well. Can being an aggressive parent cause a child to break down emotionally?
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Yes, yes, a full yes. A full yes. Why? Because if this aggression is misinterpreted, you know, sometimes as parents, we have got issues, you know, emotions and what, blah, 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 blah. I have seen cases whereby the parent is looked at as the army, you know, as the army or the policeman, and because there was no relationship. It's just you imposing yourself on the child, and sometimes it comes up when we, the parents, want to live our lives in our children's life. You want to live your life in the children's life, so you end up being aggressive on each and everything, even things that really desire. There is a stage of life whereby a child, you need to talk. Yes, there is a stage of life whereby you need to talk, but in that talk, you do not give away your power. Yes, I've found myself in position whereby parents have abdicated. I'm using the word abdicated. Have abdicated their roles to me. But mark the word role, not responsibility. A role cannot be exchanged. But a responsibility anyone can fit in for you. But now, when you abdicate your role to another person, then that means, in one word or the other, you're going to lose the connection in which you can be able to parent. Now, this causes what we call aggressiveness. You're aggressive in each and everything that you bring up, in disciplining, in saying something, in verbal aggression, in everything. And then there is a disconnection between you and this child. And when that disconnection happens, there is no parenting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Fred. Godfrey, someone has asked a question which I could answer. Someone has said, some of us are young parents. We are under the age of 25, meaning we are quote unquote children ourselves. How can we be parents when we are children? We are still children as well. So for this person who has asked this question, I really encourage you to find another parent that you look up to. You can reach out to us at Care 360. We can help you through that, but you need to be mentored to be a parent as well. It may be difficult, but you have, like Sonia said, some of us are parents by accident. You found yourself in that situation. There's nothing you can do about it. You need to just continue. So reach out to other parents you look up to, maybe in your church, in your community, or you can reach out to us and we can link you to people who can help you with that. We are running out of time. Godfrey and John, I want each of you to give the parents who are listening in just one message. In 1 minute, tell them something. I'll start with John.
Oh, okay. My message to parents is to just listen to your children. I'll give an example of when I was going to university. When I was in university, and in third year, we had to make a choice to do procurement, marketing, or finance. And so my mom assumed that I was going to do accounting and finance. And I said I don't want to do finance, I want to do marketing. And she said, it's okay, is marketing what you want to do? And I said, yes, it's what I want to do. And I did marketing. And I was like excited and happy to do marketing because it's what I wanted to do. And so she's built that relationship with me where I was able to speak up for myself and say, I want to do this. I didn't get annoyed by it and gave me permission or I was able to make my choice. And so I'd say to parents, because I see a lot of this happening, is you making decisions for your children and then blaming them later for not performing to your expectations. In my class was full of over 35 students doing accounting. And I remember one thing that stuck with me was when the lecturer came in and said, oh, why are you guys all here in this class? And 75% of the answers were my parents. My father told me to do accounting, so I'm doing accounting. And so most of these either kept dropping out or kept repeating because it's not what they wanted to do. So my message to parents is listen to your children, give them the ability to have a conversation with you. Yes.
Thank you, Joan. Thank you very much. Godfrey, your 1 minute take home for everybody here.
When you say 1 minute, you're challenging me, but let me use the 1 minute, really. There is the best parent for your child is you. The best parent for your teenager is you. And learn, Pastor Solomon, I think, is the one who gave me the answer. Erickson, the psychologist Erickson, learn the stages of development and what is expected at every stage. Yes. When you have a boy, allow me to bend it on the boy's side. When you have a boy, yes, boys have a way of connecting with their mothers so much, especially when they're teenagers. And now when this happens, the mothers become a little bit softer and lenient to them, actually shielding them. Yes. At that point, I would love to invite you, to remind you that that's the part whereby your son needs a lot of guidance. Yes. Use that opportunity to influence. Yes. I always end with these three letters: educate, empower, and equip your child. E. Educate. I'm not talking about taking to school. No, I'm talking about educating him with the right knowledge he needs to become his own navigator. Empower him to make decisions. Empower him to make decisions. Because right now you are going to the stage of releasing and equip him. Equip him. E. With the parenting, a teenager, hands off, but eyes on. God bless you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Godfrey. And just finally, the question that I have for each of us out there as a parent: what kind of environment are we giving our children? Think about the physical environment. What is your home like? There are children who say there is alcohol, there are bars in the house, and parents are drinking as and when. What environment are you giving your child? There are maids and shamba boys doing all the work. The children are doing no work. There are teenagers in the house sitting around playing on PlayStations. Somebody else is working for them. What is your physical environment like? The second one, what emotional environment are you giving your child? Are you emotionally available for your child, or are you on your iPhone or on your tablet, on the TV all the time? Does your family have at least one meal a day together? Or do you show up at 10, 11 p.m. after everyone has gone to bed? Never time to be together as family. Are there visitors all the time? You know, when there are visitors, the parents are focusing on the visitors and the children are sent away or silenced. What kind of emotional environment? What spiritual environment do you have in your home? Does the family pray together? Do you talk about spiritual things together? Do you go to church together? Do your children see you praying? The children are going to learn more by seeing what we do. And finally, what is the intellectual environment of your family like? Like I mentioned the last time, and I will mention over and over again, have your children seen you reading? Your children see you reading. Some of us parents last opened a book when we were at the university, and we've not opened a book again. But we are telling our children to read and to study. They cannot do what they cannot see us doing. Finally, let's try to catch our children doing good. Think about the relationship you have with your child. Very often you're saying, don't do this, why did you do that, you should not do this, but we don't often tell them, oh, you woke up early and made your bed today, that was excellent. You made breakfast for everybody, thank you, that was excellent. Let's catch our children doing good. So we've run out of time. Thank you very much for joining us today. In 2 weeks' time, we are going to talk about alcohol addiction. We are going to have a recovered addict come and join us and share with us his experience as an addict. And I hope you can all come back and join us, but come with your children and the young, both adolescents and the young adults as well. This is a topic they need to hear about, so make sure you all come and join us. I thank you very much for joining. If you don't mind, can you please all undo your, unstop your videos. I want to see you all. I've seen just a few of you. I'd like to see all of you. And I'm going to take a picture. Yeah. Okay. There we go. Hey, I can see you all. Good.
I want to see like everyone again.
Thank you everyone for joining us. I hope this was useful. Please make sure to send us your comments or any topics that you want us to handle as well. So after addiction, we shall talk about adolescents and sex. It's going to be a hot topic, and we want the adolescents to be present for that one, not just the parents. You know about sex, that's why you have the children. So make sure they are here to join us for that one as well. Have a lovely evening and a beautiful weekend. Bye, everybody.
Please share your phone number.
Okay, the phone, it's 0794.
A minute.
0794 312 326. I'm sending it on the chat as well.
Oh, what network is this?
That is, everyone asks what network. It's that is AfriCell. You can send me WhatsApp on that. I will call you back. Thank you very much, everybody, and all the best with your teenagers. Have a nice weekend. Bye.
Bye-bye.
I am bust.